It is the Pete Souza Show. Thank you so much for joining us today. Scotty Swingler on the wheels of steel. Shahan Jayaraja waiting in the bullpen. CBS Sports Zone. He will break down the college football playoff for us and exactly what is going on. It sort of makes sense, the playoff itself, but there's a little bit of madness into the reaction from the playoff, back and forth between athletic directors, one from SMU, one from Iowa State. The Iowa State athletic director was complaining about other teams and their strength of schedule, at which point the SMU athletic director got involved and said, hey, no offense, you guys played North Dakota, Arkansas State, and some other kind of, not very good money game. So anyways, it's complete bedlam on a personal/professional level for a lot of people as they react to this. It's quite possible that Alabama is able to rear its ugly elephant head back in the entire mix of this whole deal. If Clemson can beat SMU, which is a very, very real possibility. So it's all over the place. Scotty, can you bring up the let's check the graphic real quick. All right, so there it is. Slovacics is number 5. Congratulations to Ray and the crew there. That is amazing. We are presented by Slovacics. All right, check it out. Oregon 1, Texas 2, Penn State 3, Notre Dame 4, Georgia 5. We see as we look down, now you see Miami 12, but now let's break out the bracket. There it is. So you don't see Miami there, and you won't. It was pretty much set on record, and we talked to Shahan about this, or we will, that if you're not on this screen right now and you're not playing in a conference championship game, you're done. I mean, that pretty much is where it stands right now. So we sort of know what we're working with. And when you look at this, I mean, boy, every game I'm excited for. Indiana at Georgia, obviously Alabama at Notre Dame, that will be amazing. I think that will be an amazing game simply because the game will be played in South Bend. I worry about Arizona State going to Happy Valley. I think that could be an absolute blowout. I love the Sun Devils and what they're doing, but on paper, at first glance, that does not look good. I think Tennessee and Ohio State, again, that game is in Ohio State. I think Tennessee will get annihilated. I do. On the road at Ohio State. One thing that strikes me interesting as we talk about the college football playoff and just all this stuff, okay? So Texas, right? They're in their first year in the SEC. Well, lo and behold, like there it is. A brand new team has now found itself ranked at the top of the SEC, the best conference in college football. A team coming from the Big 12. I'm not sitting here being the Big 12 apologist. I go, look at this. Texas has always been, I don't care who you are, what you say, its own entity. I know it pisses people off around here with Baylor and stuff, but at the end of the day, we get caught up and we get pissed about the pomp and circumstance that surrounds Texas. But they are kind of better than everybody. And money has a lot to do with that. But Texas is Texas. When you go to a game at Texas, a football game, if you go to the facilities at Texas, if you go to a basketball game at Texas, especially now with the Moody Center, and you walk around, it's different there. It just is. And that is why a team like Texas can move conferences from the Big 12 to the SEC. And they've done it, by the way, sort of in a low-key way. They've just handled business all year long. They take on Texas A&M. They handle business. I'll say this. Texas is better than you, whoever you are. It just, how many nights can you beat them at a 10, right? Like, I think Texas beats everybody 7 or 6 of 10 times. That's just what I think. And now we're talking away from football. I'm just saying, like, overall. Texas is awesome. And I know that frustrates people, but it's kind of the reality. Another thing in the same breath, Oregon, and I don't put Oregon in the same category as Texas is like just a perennial, like, blue blood type program. I don't, Scotty. Not over the course of body of work. Nobody was looking for Oregon 20 years ago, dude, or 30 years ago. They weren't. Oregon's been this very exciting, sensational team. And really a lot of it is Phil Knight and the goddamn uniforms. I mean, look, no, Oregon's awesome. Look, Dan Lanning, but that's another point of mine. Oregon is this team that parachutes in from a conference that is no longer a conference and is now the best team in the Big 12. Make sense of that, Scotty Swingler. You're over there nodding your head, you're disagreeing, agreeing.
Well, you're
not even. I don't even think you want to comment on the Texas stuff.
I don't.
That's probably got your blood boiling.
Yeah, I don't, because they have done the least with the most amount of talent over the last 2 decades. Is just true, but that's okay.
That's not an argument. I agree.
Great.
I agree with you.
As when you say,
but that's where all the talent's going.
When you say blue blood programs, I would agree with you that Oregon is certainly
the history's
younger.
Not there.
Correct.
Yeah.
But I think to high school kids today, they're on the same tier.
Agree.
And if you want to talk about money, like you can't beat Nike. Like you can't top Nike like that.
But Oregon still has a ways to go. They haven't won a national championship.
They have not.
No,
They've been in what, 2 in the last decade or so?
But they haven't won a national. So come on, what are we doing, right?
That's true.
But I think they might. They certainly might this year. I just think the entire breakdown of college football is so interesting. Like when we talk about these conferences now, are we just talking about letters? I mean, really, I mean, it's pretty interesting. I mean, obviously we're talking about money, but the fact that you have these 2 teams who have entered 2 of the 2 best conferences in the country per se, that they have both new Johnny-come-latelys, that they have won both conferences. Not yet, but looks like it.
I think it is a funny coincidence. I do think it's a coincidence more than any kind of statement about what the Pac-12 or the Big 12 were.
Yeah, I agree with that, but it's interesting.
But it just goes to show. I wrote an article about this today. Like parity in college football, this is the most like difficult season I can ever remember to forecast. Like, I don't think there's a clear favorite in the playoff.
Yeah,
there's about 6 or 7 teams that if you were like they could win it, I'm like probably.
And to your point, for all of us bitching about the playoffs, I would challenge you, rank a top 50 yourself. I mean,
it's tough.
And leave the bias at the door. You can crumble it up and throw it in the trash when you're done if you want. Nobody has to see it, but a personal exercise, like maybe you should take an inventory yourself tonight. I know I should take a personal inventory. Get it on paper. See what we're doing wrong. Do we have to apologize to anybody? Write it all down. That's what we do. That's what we do in my little 12.
It is program. Hard. I would encourage people. The exercise that is frustrating is if you get on Twitter or X, you'll see the blind test, right? Here's team A's resume. Here's team B's resume.
Yeah.
And you'll see, for instance, that completely blind without knowing what names are on the uniforms.
Yeah.
BYU has an infinitely better resume than Clemson, for instance. But BYU is not going to get the love because the name on the folks, unfortunately, the name on the jersey matters. Like that blue blood tradition does matter.
It sure does.
We can whine about Alabama sneaking in all we want. Yeah. They are still Alabama. And when we had the graphic up and you think of that program traveling to Notre Dame, they've
never played there.
I'm sorry, that's great TV.
Yes.
And it is at the end of the day a television production as much as it's a playoff.
Yeah.
And you know, for years with the top 4, I was like, man, if you're having a fight to be that 4th team, where's your claim to be number 1 at the end of the day?
Yeah.
If we're arguing about the 11th team, what are we even talking about? None of those teams.
Put that graphic back up one more time.
None of those teams deserve to be number 1. So like the fact that the 11th guy gets in is like just for fun.
I agree.
It's just for fun at that point.
All right. So here's one thing to keep in mind too. Boise and UNLV play in the Mountain West Championship game. This is first of all, by the way, I challenge you, Swingler. Tell me the name of the quarterback that left UNLV after they were 3-0.
Oh, I knew it. I knew it when it happened because it was such a big deal, but I have forgotten his name.
Way to go, dude.
And do we know where he's going?
I have no idea. And I'm sure there'll be an article about it or whatever, but it's all anybody could talk about, months ago. But now, hey, check it out, right? This is now a huge game. It's on Friday night. It's going to be on Fox, on national television. I don't even know what the guy's name is who left UNLV, but I do know this. He could be playing in the biggest game of his life if he had hung in there. Or maybe he wouldn't be. Maybe this other quarterback is way better.
He's played very well.
Yeah, I don't know enough about the team. I know this. that UNLV is going to be screwed royally because the game is in Boise. It's at Albertson Stadium. Like, let me just look this up, what the weather's going to be like, right? Let's do a little Boise weather. Friday, it'll probably be around 27 degrees. I mean, 37 is the high. So the sun goes down. It's going to be cold, and it sounds like Ashton Genty weather to me. I would love to say that UNLV is going to go on the road and win the Mountain West, but that game being played in Boise, I think, is a death knell to them. I think if, like most other conferences, you were to meet at a neutral site, like for them, if they were to meet somewhere, I don't even know where a Mountain West, maybe somewhere in Utah, but it's not the case. They got to play at Boise.
Doesn't bother me. I kind of wish the Big 12 did that.
Really, home?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I don't.
Like, I think they're, this year's kind of chaotic in the Big 12, but I think in years past, I would have thought, yeah, if you've earned, especially because the Big 12 dropped the conference championship game for a season and then brought it back after Baylor and TCU got screwed out of the playoff in 2014.
Yeah.
Right now, it's like you finish 1 or 2 in the conference. Whatever, you get to go play for that championship. But if the incentive was you get that game at home, think about what that does for your fan base, for your city, I think that feels more like college football to me. Just like I'm excited for these first round playoff matchups to be on a campus. Like that's going to be electric.
All right, fair enough. And coming up, next segment is Shahan Jayaraja, and I want to give this dude some props. I don't say we're going to give this guy some flowers. I hate that term. Scotty, do you hate that term as much as me?
It's not my favorite, but I don't have any visceral feelings towards it.
You're more adult than I am. You're a much more well-rounded individual. So, anyways, Shahan Jayaraja is a guy. He's from the DFW area. He went to school at Baylor, wrote for Baylor's newspaper, The Lariat. And I'm going to tell you why this guy is special. Scotty knows him. He could tell you all day about him. But he is and I was talking to a couple people about this yesterday. He's a college football writer, but he's part of a dying breed. And here's why. The young man is sourced up. Like, he is someone who, just being around him yesterday, we filmed this show Inside the 12. It's coming out on Thursday. But he joined us. It's usually me and Madison Hawk. And either Madison was sick of looking at me for over the past 8 or 9 weeks, or Shahan was banging down the door. I was probably the first, but we were like, we got a big championship show. The show's going to go on ESPN. Let's bring in a third party, somebody who has more of a broader perspective. And so we brought in Shahan, and his perspective was broad. The show was kick-ass. It was very organic, a lot of really good conversation. There was a question, I forget, we came out of a conversation that I had with Kenny Dillingham, which you can hear here tomorrow. But I asked Shahan, I said, all right, everybody has their blinders on here when we're talking about the Big 12. I was like, give me a broad perspective. Is this the college football coach of the year? And he was like, well, he's like, you got Dan Lanning. You also have Deion Sanders. There's other coaches who are being kicked around. He said, certainly he's probably at the top of the list, or somebody who, do you have any coach of the year candidates now that we're on it?
If you had thought about it for 2 more seconds, you would know.
Dave Aranda?
Kurt Cignetti at Indiana.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's your boy.
That turnaround at that school.
You're so crazy.
Their first ever sellouts for football games.
Yeah. All right.
I'm a big Coach Sig fan.
That's a good call. All right. So Shahan, just being on the set around him yesterday, I asked him about the West Virginia football job. I was like, who do you think might get that job? And he had, and then it would come into conversation. I talk with this person. I talk with that person. And I was like, wow, this is great. I love, those are the people, and I've talked about this on shows before. They matter. In this whole, this is there, that thought's out there. I put that out there on Twitter and let me write an article or let me aggregate something. This is someone who is talking to people who are in the room, and he is sharing information from those conversations in a way that's journalistically has journalistic integrity, because I don't know how to say it the other way. And it's interesting stuff. Like, I try to keep it here, like based on my experience in life, working in pro sports, playing sports, calling sports, being in locker rooms that I've been in. I try to make educated opinions on that. Sometimes I just, if you listen to this, I just go off the reservation with crazy stuff, and that's kind of part of it. It's my show. Like I kind of finally can do that. But most of the time I try to keep it like educated. That's all he does. Like if you have to kind of push a guy like that to give you hypothetical answers and what do you think, and I feel like, especially in college football, like he is, he's already one of the guys, but I feel like he could be the next guy, because when the camera came on, it was like, wow, he was really good. Like I'd say he's a natural, like he is, like he's a natural. Like yesterday, he had not sat with Madison and I in that studio, beautiful studio, at all. And it was 5 minutes before it felt like clockwork. And that is a specific talent and level of comfort within yourself and ability to articulate. Now, he's been doing it for a little while, you agree?
Yeah. So I've known Shahan since we were both undergraduates at Baylor, and it's when people find their calling in life and it's exactly what they were meant to do. Like the dude was meant to cover sports and write. Yeah. Like he is so gifted. We've known that since we were in college. Yeah. Like I worked with him a little bit at the Lariat, like super talented dude. But what you're pointing out is that natural comfort in your own skin, like just
funny,
all of it. Yeah. Very gregarious and all of it. Like he is also like practiced that, like you're saying, and worked hard at it. And like, been very like, I'm always impressed with his self-confidence.
There was a moment yesterday, we were filming this show, and I was taught once by an old news director I had. Actually, the guy was the GM of the station. I was doing morning news at the time. And I asked him, I said, how am I doing? And he said, you're on in the morning. Keep in mind, you can always take more chances in the morning. Like take some chances. And that was basically, he was saying, be yourself.
Yeah.
And so my friend Tony's calling. Does nobody know I do this show live at 1:00? Apparently not, right? So
I won't comment on how many views we're getting right now.
I guess Tony will be another one of the ones watching later on. So because people watch and they comment. So there was a moment yesterday. We're talking about Iowa State's defensive coordinator, John Heacock, and how awesome he is. And rewatching the Iowa State game, getting ready for the show, it was revealed on the broadcast that he, out of all the things he likes on Thanksgiving, he likes lima bean casserole. It's his favorite. So I was like, so yesterday we were talking about him. I was like, this is a good opportunity to take a chance. And I go, I love everything about this guy, but the fact that he eats lima bean casserole at Thanksgiving and that's his favorite component of the meal, like that's worrisome to me about this guy. As he can coach my defense all day long, I'm not sure if I trust him.
Yeah.
And then Shahan butts right in and goes, I don't know. I like my defensive coordinator being a psycho. And I was like, this guy's awesome.
Yeah.
Like he gets it right away. I mean, that was almost like he threw me a lob, or I threw a lob to him. It was like, I was like, wow. Like I just met him earlier that morning. And that was one of those moments I was like, damn, this show's good. Like, and it takes someone like that who's willing to take a little bit of a chance, So he does a hell of a job.
Yeah. And again, like dude that is just doing what he was like put on earth to do. And it's obvious, like so gifted, so gifted.
All right. Well, now of that buildup, you're going to have to find out if he's gifted or not. We're coming back on the other side of this break with Shahan J. Araja. Stay with us.
It's the Pete Souza Show. Sports Pete.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. And that's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
All is right with the